Hello students, I am Dr. Suda Udaya. Today, I would like to speak directly to Sri Lankan students who have already completed an NVQ qualification and are now considering their next education, employment or international career pathway. You may already have valuable knowledge, practical skills and industry experience. However, you may not know how your Sri Lankan NVQ qualification could relate to an Australian qualification. Our organisation is now inviting eligible NVQ holders to submit an expression of interest so that we can review their qualifications and help them identify a suitable Australian education pathway. You should provide us with a copy of your NVQ certificate, your academic transcript or competency record, details of the institution where you completed your training, evidence of any employment or industry experience, your preferred career area, and your future study or migration objectives. Once we receive your information, our team can conduct a preliminary review and identify an Australian qualification that may be related to your existing studies and experience. It is important to understand that your Sri Lankan NVQ qualification does not automatically become an Australian qualification. The relevant Australian education provider must assess your knowledge, skills and evidence. Depending on the outcome, you may be considered for recognition of prior learning, credit transfer, gap training, additional assessments, practical demonstrations, or completion of selected Australian units. The Australian provider will make the final decision regarding your eligibility, fees, training requirements and qualification outcome. Our role is to help you identify a suitable pathway and avoid unnecessary repetition of studies wherever possible. Why is this pathway important? There are several possible benefits. First, an Australian qualification may allow you to continue your education at a higher level. For example, you may be able to progress from a certificate-level qualification to a diploma, advanced diploma or degree, depending on the admission requirements of the education provider. Second, a relevant Australian qualification may improve your employment opportunities. When you already have industry skills and recognised training, you may be in a stronger position to seek work related to your area of study. Third, some qualifications may relate to occupations considered under Australian skilled migration or employer-sponsored pathways. However, you must clearly understand that no qualification automatically guarantees a visa, employment or permanent residency. Migration eligibility depends on many factors, including your occupation, age, English language ability, work experience, skills assessment, and Australian migration requirements at the time of application. When you study in Australia on an eligible student visa, you may be permitted to work part-time, subject to your visa conditions. This may allow you to gain Australian work experience and contribute towards your living expenses. However, you should not depend entirely on part-time work to pay your tuition fees and living costs. You must have a proper financial plan before travelling to Australia. The advantage of selecting a course related to your previous NVQ qualification is that you may be able to seek work in an area where you already have skills and experience. This could place you in a better position than choosing an unrelated course simply for the purpose of obtaining a student visa. Let us consider a student who has completed an NVQ qualification in caregiving, aged care, community care, health assistance, or a related area. Your qualification and work experience may be compared with a relevant Australian care sector qualification. An Australian training provider may then assess whether you are eligible for recognition of prior learning, credit transfer, or gap training. After completing the required Australian qualification, you may be able to apply for a higher level program, such as the Diploma of Nursing, subject to the admission requirements of the nursing education provider. While studying nursing, your previous care qualification and experience may assist you in seeking part-time employment in aged care, disability support, community services, or a related field. However, admission to nursing, credit transfer, employment, professional registration and migration outcomes cannot be guaranteed. Each student must be individually assessed. After completing a diploma or degree, you may also investigate scholarships, institutional grants, employer support or other funding opportunities. However, government funding and scholarships are not automatically available to every international student. You must meet the eligibility requirements of the relevant institution, scholarship provider or government authority. I strongly advise you not to come to Australia simply because you have received a student visa. A student visa should not be your final objective. Your objective should be to become a properly qualified professional with a clear education and career plan. Before selecting a course, ask yourself, what profession do I want to enter? What qualification do I need? Can my existing NVQ qualification contribute to that pathway? What employment opportunities may be available? What will be the total cost of my studies and living expenses? Does this pathway support my long-term professional goals? These are very important questions. Studying overseas is a major decision. It requires careful planning, financial preparation, and a clear understanding of the outcome you are trying to achieve. If you have completed an NVQ qualification in Sri Lanka and would like to understand how it may relate to an Australian qualification, I invite you to submit an expression of interest. Please send us your NVQ certificate, your academic transcript, your employment records, your curriculum or unit details where available, and a short explanation of your future career goals. After reviewing your information, our team can provide a preliminary recommendation covering a potentially relevant Australian qualification, possible RPL or gap training requirements, further study pathways, indicative costs and timeframes, and important education, employment and migration considerations. Please remember that all applications are assessed individually. No Australian qualification, RPL outcome, visa, employment opportunity, scholarship or migration outcome can be guaranteed. Your future should not be based on guesswork. It should be based on proper planning, reliable information, and a clear professional strategy. Thank you. I am Dr. Suda Udaya. I look forward to helping you identify a suitable education and career pathway.